staying single has been one of the best decisions I've made in my life. I'm just gonna talk about some of the things that have happened and that I've realized over the past 5.5 years. So, I broke up in November 2020, and when I finally made the decision to break up, I actually made two decisions at the same time. One was obviously the breakup, but the second decision was to leave my home country for a while. So, I was gonna spend 2021 back home and then travel somewhere for a few months. I had always wanted to leave my home country because a part of me feels like I was born in the wrong country, but I had never left because I had always stayed stuck because of men that I didn't want to leave behind. So I never left because I was constantly dating and I was boy crazy, too scared of being alone. So I always stayed. And yeah. So when it came to the point where I realized that I need to leave that relationship, I knew that I would have to stay single for a while, and that would be the perfect time to actually leave and not get stuck again. So the first year after the breakup, I had to bring myself back to who I was before and to learn how to be happy by myself without putting my happiness onto the hands of somebody else. So the first year was just healing and working and saving money and avoiding men. And then in March 2022, it was time. I had booked a flight for myself to Seoul, South Korea for 2.5 months. And I wanted to leave my comfort zone. That was one of the reasons why I wanted to leave in the first place. That trip was going to be my first time in Asia. I had a close friend who had done his exchange in Seoul in 2019, and I was supposed to visit him back then, but I couldn't make it. So that was still a destination that I wanted to go to. But other than what he had told me, I didn't really have that many expectations. I just knew that I would be in a big city surrounded by mountains. I love nature and I love hiking. So I knew there would be endless hiking opportunities, amazing food, culture, and cafes. If you know me, you know I love coffee. And when I tell you, I genuinely don't even have the words to express how much that trip gave me. It did do exactly what I wanted it to, force me out of my comfort zone. I would recommend any and every girl to travel solo at least once in their lives. I know it can be scary, but it doesn't have to be a long trip. It can be a day, 2 days, a few days, as far or as close as you feel comfortable with. You don't have to go to the other side of the world. I cannot recommend doing that enough. If you do have the ability to go for a longer time, I would suggest that, but it doesn't have to be long. I genuinely could not recommend that enough. After that trip, I have spent 6 months in Seoul, and a part of me will always miss Korea, but I do currently live back in my home country, mostly because of my ADHD assessment journey, but I do not regret going at all. My bottom line is, if you have the chance to go somewhere solo, especially if that's something that you have wanted to do it. Another thing is people. This might just be me, and I am ashamed to admit this because I cannot believe it took me so long, but it took me decentering men and staying single to actually realize the value of female friendships. There's nothing like my girls. And also, I'm just talking from experience, but at least to me, meeting people when I was in a relationship was not as easy. After the breakup, every single year I have met people who I now consider some of my favorite people in the world. And the situations where I met these people happened because I was single. I wouldn't have met most of these people, maybe not any of these people, if I wasn't single. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't have made any friends if I was in a relationship, but I personally have just been in so many more situations where I'm able to make friends because I have decided to focus on myself and not start dating. I don't know if that makes sense. I hope it does. My female friendships have taught me more about love than any relationship ever did. The thing is, when you take the time to learn your value and know what you actually want from the people around you, you will start to attract the right type of people. Okay, then there's the smaller stuff that's actually not small at all. One thing I always say is small things are not small. Things like being able to do what I want when I want without having to explain or check in with anybody. I know that's selfish, but your single years are literally the only time in your life when you can be selfish and you don't have to feel bad about it, you know? I take myself on solo dates all the time, and it's so crazy to think now that I used to be so scared of being alone, because now I genuinely love my own company and I honestly never feel lonely because I think when you're comfortable with your own company, the feeling of loneliness just disappears. It's so important to learn how to actually be comfortable by yourself. You will miss out on so many things if you always have to wait for somebody else to join you because you're scared to do it alone. At this point, I don't even know if a relationship is even a goal for me anymore. I do have some thoughts on that. I could make a separate video about that. So if you would like to hear, let me know in the comments. But I just want to say, whatever you want, whether a relationship is something that you want or not, I hope you don't waste your single years wishing that you had somebody. Because like I said, your single years are literally the only time in your life when you can be selfish. Every decision you make is actually yours, and you get to find out who you are as just yourself. So don't forget that you deserve to show up for yourself the same way you would for somebody else. Because being single can be just as special as you make it. All the solo dates and the little celebrations and all the small moments in between. If you have any thoughts, please share them in comments because I would love to hear them. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!